Alright, this time I'm making a video about arrowheads. I just purchased a collection of 90 points for $120. They are from the southern half of North Carolina and the northern half of South Carolina. So I paid about $1.33 per arrowhead. I'm no expert on arrowheads of this area yet, but I know there's some Hardaway points and some Stanleys, maybe a couple of Yadkins and some Kirks, and some Asheville. That might be a Hardaway. They're usually shorter and stubby with the side notches and concave base, but I just didn't know if they used the quartz on them. And that might be a Kirk. They usually have a base similar to that. And that base right there certainly looks like a Kirk, but I'm not an expert, like I said. This one almost looks like it's a reproduced one. And here we have an interesting looking one. Not sure if that's a drill or some kind of a special tool. There's a nice pointed concave base one. And this one looks like it has a little bit broken off. Here's another quartz one I purchased because of the dull colors of most of these. Anything that's shinier is better. That's probably the rhyolite. It's a very bland looking rock. There's another nice example. As a rule, the thinner they are, the higher quality and more valuable they are. There's a really nice example of a concave base point. What style it is, I'm not sure. Probably a scraper or a small knife. There's a neat looking scraper right there. And we got this really big quartz one. You don't see quartz pieces that clear and that large very often. And another knife. Another example of rhyolite. There's probably a Kirk point there. And that one is a little bit broken off the base, but it's still worth $1.33 at least. Getting into some serrated edges on these. Generally, the serrated edges make them look pretty neat and thus more valuable. Here's a really long one. I guess that would be, I don't know if it's a knife or a spearhead, but that's certainly one of the better pieces. And there's a second one, a little smaller and a little bit of tip damage. Interesting pointed base on that one. And there's a tiny little knife, like, I don't know what that is, if that's considered an arrowhead or some kind of a tool. It's very small. And there's a really nice example. Anybody would be proud to have that on their display. Here's another dull colored, but it's pretty well formed. I guess you could call that a willow leaf knife or something like that. Well, this guy had about 600 points and he sold the 12 best ones already to somebody else, but I went through about 580 and picked out these 90 of the best ones. And that certainly is a nice one right there. And if any of you experts want to comment on any of these points and tell me more about them or what the value is on some of them, go ahead. That's kind of an odd deformed looking one there. I've seen a couple of these rounded tip ones on eBay. I guess it's some kind of a tool. There's a big Kirk point, I would think. Another pretty nice example. Now that is what I call a good looking arrowhead. Except of course this one is broken off. Should have a matching corner down there. But still, for the price I paid, can't complain. See, that one's kind of poorly made because it's so fat. Got all that extra stuff hanging off the top right there. But I think I got a really good deal for getting all these points at $120. There's another pretty large size one there. And another bland colored one. The collection of points this guy inherited was very poor quality, generally speaking. I had to pick through them for at least an hour and a half to get all these good examples. But I guess I was lucky he let me cherry pick them like he did. I guess he just didn't really care about them that much. Here's a nice really big scraper. Kind of like that one. Scrapers aren't really very valuable generally speaking, but this one just has a nice shape to it. Then a small bird point with a concave base. Another quartz example. And there's a beautiful point right there. Probably one of the top 10 out of the collection. Almost looks like a repro because it's so perfect. And this one's definitely not a repro. It's got nice patina all over it. There's a big quartz piece. It looks like it broke off. I wonder how long it would have been. And there's a nice willow leaf scraping tool. And there's a nice patina on that one. Definitely not a fake there. And the back side. Another knife. A little bit of an odd shape there. And this shape definitely has some kind of special name, but I don't know what it is. And this is definitely one of my favorite points. It has some fresh nick on it, either from the guy not handling it properly, he just dumped them all out of the bags, or it could have been because it was plowed up with a tractor. That's definitely an extremely early, well-formed point. Alright, it's winding down. We're down to the last 11 points. Nice little serrated edge point there. And another serrated edge. Nice thin small point. And there it is, the last one. Very thin. One of the better examples. So, what do you think? Was it worth $120 for all this? Don't know if I'm going to keep all these or sell them, but I think I like them a lot, so I'll probably keep most of them.